three. Hey, Wooten, how's your Saturday?
It's starting.
All right. Well, what do you know? So to jump right into things, what do you know about war crimes?
That I've never committed one.
Good answer. Okay. So, what do you know about war crimes committed by Americans in Afghanistan? I'm sorry, Iraq.
No, they happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
So, back in 2006. So this is a little before both of us because I was still in high school, right?
Yeah, I think I had just gotten kicked out.
Yeah, right. So neither of us were paying attention to the news at this time because we were both still in high school, doing whatever boys in high school did. This has been recorded, so neither of us are going to incriminate ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so a little context. The Second Battle of Fallujah had happened in 2004, right? Now, the Battle of Fallujah was famous for being a pretty bloody a pretty nasty battle, right? After the Battle of Fallujah, though, the insurgent fighters, anti-American fighters, whatever they were doing, not all of them, all they could really agree upon was that fuck that guy, right? I don't like you, but I hate that guy more, right?
That's how a lot of wars go.
Yeah, that's just how life goes, right? And so a lot of these people ended up in southern Baghdad, right? Like a suburb of southern Baghdad. And this suburb became so notorious that it became known as the Triangle of Death.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, now the unfortunate unit we are talking about is the 50 is an army unit, but under the 101st Airborne, the 502nd Regiment. A full infantry unit. These guys were not reservists. They replaced the unit they replaced was a National Guard unit, but the unit we're talking about was like full on army infantry, not reservists. Like these guys are supposedly know what they were doing. Problem one, you had basically, like a battalion. Like you pretty much had four companies, Alpha Company, Bravo Company, and Delta Company, controlling a place that the low estimates had 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
High end was about 1 million, so anywhere to 500,000, 1 million people, trying to control an area that is an active civil war. Because keep in mind, this is 2006. Iraq is full on civil war at this point, right? And you're trying to police an area with 4 companies of infantry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how much you are on like war theory or stuff like that, but for general, like the kind of like if you do a casual look at this stuff, the idea is that you need like one soldier for like 20 people. They do not have that, obviously. They're trying to control 500,000 people with 4 companies.
Yeah, they went the American education system route. 1 teacher per 100 students.
Yeah, which is not enough people, right?
Yeah.
So you have so not only was and granted, if it had been one of the less volatile regions of Iraq, you might be able to say, okay, this isn't a hot zone. We don't need as many people there. But this was the Triangle of Death.
The Triangle of Death.
Yeah. I did not come up with this name. You can
The purgatory
you
polygon.
Google that, and it's like, oh, Triangle of Death, Southern Baghdad, early
So many, so many fun names you can do with that. The purgatory polygon.
Yeah. Like people like IEDs. There's one, and so and not only that, they were understaffed, and you know what happened. Now, granted, we were both Marines. You know what happened. We take it for granted, but it's not good management to try to do more with less people, because what happens when you get overworked people, they get stressed out, and stressed out people, they do stupid shit.
Yeah.
They become less effective at what they're supposed to. People who are overworked become less effective at what they were doing, which is kind of which compounds the problem of there not being enough people to do the job.
Yeah, and they're in the circle of serial killers or whatever.
So here's a story that, and keep in mind, my main source for all this was a book written by a reporter, Jim Frederick, called Black Hearts. He wrote about he wrote about this because it gets bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We're gonna get in some Vietnam fucking class stories.
Yeah. So
start hitting this beer harder then. Go for
it.
Yeah.
And so they got there in October October of 2005, right? By December, the company commander, Captain Goodwin, was talking to the regimental commander, Lieutenant Colonel Kirk, and saying, this platoon is combat ineffective. I need another platoon. Kirk's like, no.
Oh, damn. Whole platoon.
Yeah. Like this platoon, they lost their first sergeant. They lost like the situation that brought that conversation on was like a few days ago, a lieutenant in that platoon got blown up by an IED, flown into canal, and it took them like 3 days to fish his body out of the canal. Yeah.
So loss of command, and pretty much morally.
Oh yeah, no, they were getting like
morally
IED,
broken.
Again, this is like IEDs every day, mortared every day.
Yeah, their morale was broken.
Oh yeah, and like
their
to
mental
go
state.
into why the morale was broken, we can go to living conditions. So the soldiers were in what TCP traffic control points, abbreviated to TCPs. They were numbered. While the quality varied, it's a traffic control point. This is not a fortified fortress. This is not a well-built fort. This is basically like you have some Humvees, sandbags, and concertina wire. And people would be there for days. But that's the thing. Even headquarters was at a TCP. So you either were out on patrol, on post at a TCP where people were where you were, on the job for 3 days on the end, or you were in the rear where you're still at a TCP. You were never off the clock. This happened for months. They got worn down to the nubs. They started going, the company that this kind of revolves around to was Bravo Company, and Bravo Company got hit. They just got hit the hardest. They started and they ended up getting a reputation for being just vicious, right? It was bad. One incident when again, these people were at these TCPs for days on end. I've actually got a quote here. Let me find it real quick.
I can't believe they're just out in the open like that. They
that
even have
goes
tents?
into So, quote, So for 3 to 5 days at a time, the squad lived at the TCP itself by the side of the road on a few cots protected by strands of concertina wire. The soldiers wanted to sleep, take refuge from the elements, or just come off a combat footing for even a minute or two. They had to do so either on the cots or in or under their Humvees. They're supposed to keep their helmets and body armor on at all times, whether they were on guard or not. Even when they were off guard, there was nowhere for them to go that was safe for 24 hours a day, interrupted for days on end. Even when shaving or brushing their teeth in the heat and the dust and the wind, they had to keep 40 pounds of gear on. The men found it virtually impossible to do this without going crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe they didn't even have a squad tent. That's insane.
No, because keep in mind, they're in the middle of a city, you know?
Yeah.
They can't, you know, the advantage of like setting, like one of the few advantages of, say, Afghanistan is where it's a lot, you know, they're a lot less urban, is if you're trying to take control of, you know, a rural area, you just find an empty field, set up a small little World War I style fort, and you at least have a place where, oh, we're getting mortared, but whatever. You can at least, like, you know, you can at least dial it down from 11 to like 4 to like 6. You know, you can dial it down a little bit, but they could not dial it down at all, and that wears a person down.
Yeah, I can't believe they couldn't at least give them some sort of medium tactical armored vehicle or something. That's insane.
Yeah. And so one incident that happened, you know, again, these people were at the TCPs all the time, right? And this is not the only one of these incident, but this is a notable one, notable enough to make it into the book. You had like 4 of these guys at a TCP. An Iraqi comes up, and apparently they at least recognized him, so he did not raise any alarm bells, right? So he walks up, there's like, hey, how's it going, person I kind of vaguely or recognize, and they go back to like playing cards or whatever. He pulls out a pistol, shoots 2 of them. Third one managed to take cover underneath the Humvee. The fourth one apparently was in the Humvee, so managed to, you know, rack the machine gun and just blow the guy's head up. The book gets a lot more graphic, but like for the incident of why that's why'd it happen? I just told you why it happened. They had they had to relax even a little bit to stop from going crazy. And because they had to relax at these CCPs.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with monotony, man. Complacency kills. I mean, you're doing something for 3 days freaking straight. That's too long to be doing something straight. You need switches. You need somebody fresh. You know, constantly, fucking at least every 12 hours or what else are you gonna do? Like you just said, you gotta chill or you'll break your brain.
Yeah, but these guys never got the chill. If they weren't at a TCP, they were running patrols. If they weren't running patrols, they were, at the FOB, but the FOB was basically just a bigger TCP. And the FOB burned down at one point. And then as it burned down, it got mortared.
So we built a new castle. That one sank into the swamp.
Right? Like this is just like the cursed unit, right? It's almost comical if the war crime didn't happen. Because
so we built another castle on top of that one. That one burned down, fell over, sank into the swamp.
Yeah. So and of course, this is what you also have to realize. This was
Jesus. Do you think they set it on fire because that made an easier target?
I think it just got on fire by accident, and because it was on fire, they're like, holy shit, signal flare, more.
Yeah, makes a much easier target.
Right. And so and another thing that needs to be brought up is that this was the early 2000s. So when did you join?
2008.
Okay. So you still probably would have experienced this when they were desperate for bodies, right? And so they were a lot less lean. They were, and certain people who might have gotten like, oh, you're crazy, let's not let you in, right? Hell, I mean, granted, but I probably, we all know a few people like that, right?
Oh yeah, when they were pushing for numbers, one of my buddies went to boot camp with a mentally handicapped person, like IQ below the bar. Somebody pushed him through because they wanted numbers.
Yeah. And so
it got found out in boot camp. If anybody does end up listening to this, they did not send the poor the poor mentally stunted guy into combat. He got found out in boot camp and they sent him home.
See, at least we learned something from Vietnam. The one thing we learned from Vietnam: don't send retarded people into combat. And that is why this could never be aired, because I'm not allowed to say the R word anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this poor guy apparently was hiding underneath his rack from the drill instructors when they would yell at him. You can only imagine what would have happened if he'd been sent to anywhere.
Yeah. Like help in Vietnam, he would have just been a McNamara boy.
Mm-hmm.
But off topic. So this horrible incident, again, like the author gets a lot of the pushes a lot of the blame onto Private First Class Stephen Green. And to be fair, Private First Class Stephen Green eventually went up to combat stress and got removed and got separated from the army for basically being a psychopath. However, that was after he committed the exciting incident that causes a person to write a full book.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me just. Oh, already on the page. Okay. March 2nd, 2006. So this is March. They've been there for like 6 months at this point, right? I've given you a very yada yada version of the horrible shit they've gone through. This is about halfway through the, so imagine 6 months of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
side of the triangle of death.
Yeah. And so like these guys, like they're seeing their friends blown up, they've been hit by IEDs themselves, they've snapped at this point, right?
Yeah.
So you have three. Keep in mind, these guys, they're all like PFCs, right? Mm-hmm. So you have this TCP all manned by PFCs, right? Now I don't know how we were Marines at this point. Some of them might have been Lance Corporals, but Army's a little different, so they were all just PFCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have Green, Barker, and Cortez. Now there were other soldiers at the CCP, but these are the two kind of head leaders of what's about to happen. So they're sitting around this base drinking whiskey, even though they're deployed, you're not supposed to buy whiskey, but apparently they bought it for, this is the phrase into the book, the very reasonable price of $5 a can.
In the can. Oh yeah, man. I mean, like we just said, they're going to relax somehow.
Yeah.
And they're still in the middle of a city, so that's not that hard.
Oh yeah, and they're in Iraq. People talk about they're Muslims, they're not supposed to drink. Catholics technically aren't supposed to fucking drink anyway, but they still do. Okay, what makes Iraq is there, and probably why the Taliban did not succeed in Iraq is because the Iraqis are like, yeah, we're still Muslim, but we're not that kind of Muslim. You go take your sobriety. We don't want to be sober. Go away. Right? Mm-hmm. And so the three of them are sitting around, stressed up. They've been worn down. They've gone crazy at this point. Green is crazy. In a month, he'll be separated from the army, right?
I get you.
Yeah. And so, well, they're doing what all young, dumb, drunk men do. They are talking shit to each other and they're riling each other up, right? Yeah. Barker, I've got a better idea. We've all killed Hajis, but I've been here twice and I still never fucked one of these bitches.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see where this is going?
Yeah.
So, now what makes it a little worse, I want to make sure I blame the correct person. Oh, Barker apparently already had a target.
Oh, God.
Yeah. He had singled out a family of 4, 1 father, his wife, and his 2 kids. Mm-hmm. The 2 daughters. The youngest daughter is like still a kid, and granted, these girls are in their, they only see them in their, in their public dresses. And so, but she was he was thinking she's in her 20s, maybe she's a teenager. For the record, their target was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Her name, I want to make sure I get this right. Abir. A 14-year-old girl named Abir.
Mm-hmm.
So, Green, Barker, and Cortez, drunk on whiskey, they grab a 4th guy with them, Spielman. Wait, Spielman? I want to make sure there's 2 S's at this. Private first class, just Spielman.
Mm-hmm.
Spielman is honest, from what I've read, he gets as much blame for what's about to happen, but really it seems like it might have just been dragged along. Mm-hmm. Right? It's okay, we're not. So most of them are we're gonna put in disguises, except Green, because Green's a fucking sociopath, goes on his fucking camis. Right? Mm-hmm. But they put on disguises. They leave 2 other people at the TCP. One of them they don't even talk to. The other guy, Howard, there's hey, Howard, we're gonna go do this thing. They're he's wait, you're gonna leave me here? Yeah, call us on the radio if something happens. Bye. He obviously doesn't believe them because he's this is they've got to be joking. Wait, they're actually leaving. He panics that they've left him at the TCP, so he calls them on the radio, say, "There's a truck coming, you have to come here." But he's lying because he's trying to get them to come back because obviously he's left alone with one other dude in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
In the Triangle of Death. He is rightfully scared out of his mind, right?
Yeah.
So these 4 young men, they track down an Iraqi. They apparently already knew where they were going. They bust into the house. The father, mother, and younger daughter get shoved into the bedroom. Green is put in charge of them to try to, control the hostages. Barker and Cortez take the first 2 turns on 14-year-old Abir. While during that, Green, he starts losing control of his hostages. He shoots the mother first.
Jesus.
Shoots the father in the head, as he describes it, just as I was trained, to the chest, one to the head. And then the youngest daughter, he shoots in the back of the head. After that, Green's done.
That's how you know
I don't need to be in here anymore. So he leaves.
Just kill crazy at that point. It's the young girl was posing no threat. It
surprisingly still gets a little worse. So he leaves because he's oh, they're dead. I don't need to be there anymore. Then Green takes his turn. Spielman doesn't take his turn. Spielman goes back into the bedroom and grabs tries to grab evidence so that they don't, so because Green was using a shotgun, and apparently only Americans use shotguns at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. It was so, like, it would have been a sign, right? So he made sure he was trying to collect shotgun shells then, because Green used a fucking shotgun because Green was kind of an idiot.
I better collect these plastic shotgun shells so they don't know it was a shotgun. What the the things people do when they're stressed.
Like, yeah, you don't think right? Like, I almost feel sorry for Spiel, except he should have
shotgun
snitched.
Spread, the shotgun wounds, the shotgun pellets.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I get it. Desperation, and I'm sure he's just fucking freaking out.
Yeah.
And probably doesn't want to be in the room with the rape.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. And so
what are you doing? Just in here collecting the evidence.
Right?
You all right? Yeah. They're happy tears.
Are you done? Can we go? I want to go back to the TCP.
They're happy tears. I'm just having so much fun hanging out with you guys.
Right? I'm not regretting getting drunk on whiskey.
Yeah, this totally didn't escalate way the fuck beyond what I thought it would.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Green takes his turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put a pillow over her head. Green kills her as well. And then one of them, I think Baker, finds a kerosene lamp in the kitchen, douses her, and then they burn her body.
Okay, another evidence kind of thing. I get it.
No, because they don't burn the rest of they don't like burn the house down or burn the rest of the family. They just burn a beer. It's just, yeah, like maybe part of them was like, okay, if we burn her body, we hide the fact that we raped her, but it's weird because so now their crime concluded. They returned back to TCP2. The whole thing took like 15 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah. The next morning, one of the army, because there was a murder, and the army's trying to make this place do police action in this place, right? Because that's what you do as an occupying force to exert control. You're trying to do police action, right?
Yeah.
And so the NCO who goes investigate is Sergeant. I might be saying this wrong, Sergeant Yerb, right? It's like YRIBE or something. I don't know how to say it, right? So Sergeant Yerb, who like he's been in Bravo Company the whole time. He's been transferred platoons a little bit because he conflicting with the replacement first sergeant, because the original first sergeant got blown up real early, right? Which is part of the reason this unit descended into madness, So anyway, Sergeant Yerb is, he's investigating this crime scene, and he's like, okay, it's a civil war. This according to the interview the reporter did, is like it was horrible, not the worst thing I've seen, but still horrible. But there was weird things, like he found a shotgun shell, which is like, that's weird. Iraqis don't use shotgun shells. That's an American or contractor thing, right?
Yeah, why is it covered in tears?
And also, like, what really stood out is that someone burned the body. That's not like Iraqis do that to, like, they do that to Americans when they kill them, but they don't do that to each other. So Sergeant Yerb is already thinking, all right, this is weird. So he's going back to TC. He's contemplating his brain-stewing. He's going back to TCP2. And apparently when he walks back to TCP2, guess who's standing there waiting for him? Fucking Green. And apparently Green was just like, yeah, I did that. He was like, the fuck? He's like, yeah, I did that. It's like, all right, sure you did, Green. Shut the fuck up. I'm good. Green, I don't have time for your shit now. Because Green was the kind of Green was weird enough where when he said that, he kind of believed him. But it's also like, no, Green's just talking shit again because Green's just weird. And so he reports what he knows to the captain. He doesn't mention Green because as far as he was concerned, when I'm going to tell him, Green's talking shit again. But then like a few days later, you're thinking about it a little more. It's like, okay, I have to talk to Green. So he talks with Green. And Green apparently, convinces Yeerb that he talks about details that he should not have been able to know.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so Yeerber's like, get yourself out of the army or I will get you out of the army, which basically means get yourself out of the army or I'm going to kill you. So it's not. And so a little bit after that, there's an incident with Green throwing a cat off a roof. And so the platoon sergeant says, go to fucking combat stress. So Green goes to combat stress and gets separated for being crazy. And this is when we get the diagnosis of he's psychotic or sociopath. Green's not right in the head.
Yeah.
But again, at this point, it hasn't been reported. Because Yeerb doesn't legitimately, he doesn't know if, he really doesn't know what to think, And so he just kind of sits on it. A few months later, there is another horrible incident where instead of being killed at the spot, remember that incident I described earlier where an Iraqi kind of just walked up and shot two of them, almost killed the third and got killed by the fourth? Imagine that. But instead of killing two and two just surviving, killed two and the other two were kidnapped. Yeah. So that's a whole clusterfuck. I don't have a time. Yeah, that's. Don't got time to go. I'm looking on my timer. Don't got time to go into that. But during that whole, while they're trying to find these two people who, at this point, they know they're probably dead because it's been over a day, but they're still trying to find them. And so Sergeant Yeerb is just, he's pulling post somewhere with a Private Watts, right? Private Watt. And he makes an offhanded comment about man, those people are dead and fucking Green is back in the States enjoying civilian life after what he did. And Watt's like, wait, what did Green do? And he gets Yeeb talking. And so this is the first time Yeeb has spread the information and Watts is like, the fuck? Why haven't you told anyone? He's like, look, honestly, Green was just probably talking shit. But Watts doesn't send them the information. Watts was apparently spent a lot of time in the radio hub, So he's apparently had a better memory of who was where when, right? And he remembers, okay, who else was there that night? I remember Howard was there.
Oh, the dude who was
Howard wasn't part of the crime, but everyone else told Howard, hey, we're gonna go commit this crime. Howard's like, sure you are. They come back covered in blood, and Howard's like, what the fuck did you all just do?
Yeah.
So Watts finds Howard. Watts manages to pump Howard for information. Watts goes to Yeeb, is like, look, I just talked to Howard. Green wasn't lying. And apparently more of them were in on it. Yeeb's like, yeah, no, I don't believe it. So Watts doesn't sit on the information though, unlike you. Watts, he's talking to combat stress. But the person he talks to in combat stress is like, okay, this all sounds like hearsay. I need to talk to my XO. Before that person gets back to him, Watts is panicking. So it's like, okay, I need someone to have my back. So he talks to a good sergeant friend. That sergeant tells the first sergeant, who tells the captain, Captain Goodwin, who tells Lieutenant Colonel Kirk, and now there's an official investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's military politics.
Yeah. Howard only, like Howard, who kind of was just like a witness, but he ended up, conspiracy because he did not tell anyone. Like, if he had come forward and been like something happened, he wouldn't have been charged. But Howard, because he had to they had to bring him in, he ended up getting like 17. He ended up like serving, like being in prison for like sentenced for like 17 months, right?
It's rough.
You say that now. Barker and Cortez, the first two rapists got 90 years. 90 year and 100. One got 90, one got 100 years.
So life.
Yeah. Spetzel got 90 years with a chance of parole after 10, which means he would have been up for parole in 2016, 2017. I haven't checked up on that, on whether or not he got a parole. Green, 5 life sentences.
Good.
The prosecutors were trying to give him the death penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I think life in prison's worse.
That's a different argument.
Yeah.
But yeah. And that is one of the most horrific war crimes of the early War on Terror that I know of.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah. I've written a 23-page paper on that. Yeah.
Well, what a pleasant way to start my day.
No, that's what I mean. I'm sorry to ruin. I'm sorry to ruin your day, sir.
Nah, it's fine. I got some fun things to do later.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of, I need to jump in the shower.
All right, sir. Well, it's been a pleasure. If we had pluggables, this is when we would plug our pluggables. But until then, I'm Forrest.
I'm Justin.
All right, and talk to you later, dude. Bye-bye.